right, here he is on the Scott and BR Show on the Corky'sNoonCartoon.com hotline. Here is the head football coach of San Diego State. Here's Rocky Long back on the Scott and BR Show. Hi, Coach.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Doing great. Yourself?
I'm hanging in there.
Hanging in there.
Yeah.
Does that
What's
mean,
with the huh?
Well, because, today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Does hanging in there mean I'm still getting over what happened last week against Colorado State? Or what does that mean?
He's
exactly?
moved on.
It means that I was like when Clubber Lang beat me up in the ring, and I am over it, but I still have bumps and bruises and scars. You know.
Yeah. Well, does the team? Has the team been able to, in your opinion, based on your experience, has the team been able to let go of what happened on Saturday?
Well, they're practicing with the right attitude, and they're energetic, and they seem excited about this Saturday. But my experience tells me you never know until you actually play again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
Coach, do you have concerns about being a team from a warm weather climate, having to play not only at altitude, but also given the cold and probably even more cold as it gets darker and darker this Saturday? Do you concern yourself with the weather at all?
Well, I concern myself with the weather, but I don't think they have any advantages whatsoever. They might live in that weather, but they don't practice in it because they got a beautiful full-length field indoor practice facility, and it's hard to get anything done in the cold, so they practice inside. So there's no advantage to either team. And then I always, in the past, you're always worried about the altitude, but every game we play up in altitude now has commercials, and depending on and we're on ESPN, so that means 4 commercials per quarter, about 2 minutes each. So that's basically 4 timeouts that you get every quarter. So it's not near the deal it used to be. In basketball, when they run up and down the court, I'm sure it's still a big deal. But in football, it's not near the deal it used to be. And to be honest with you, we've played 2 cold games already this year, and a couple of years ago we played in Boise that was colder than it's going to be in Laramie. So I think the 2 teams are going to fight it out, and I think someone's going to win it at the end, and I hope it is us.
Coach Rocky Long, San Diego State head football coach, getting ready for the Mountain West Conference Championship game. Do you feel like because you lost the last 2 games that you're I'm just using this cliche, you're sort of limping into this championship game rather than going in with lots of momentum, and does that matter?
I don't know if I'd put it that way, but you're right. I think that we have lost a little bit, I call it mojo. I think we've lost a little bit of our mojo, maybe a little bit of our confidence. So I don't think we're limping into it because I think we deserve to be there, but I don't think we're going into the game with the same confidence we would have if we'd won last week or the week before that. But when you see what happened to us and then you watch the film, the exact same thing happened to Wyoming. Exactly the same thing. University of New Mexico rushed for 560-something yards against them and beat them, 56-28 or something.
56-35, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it was exactly on film, exactly the same thing. So you can speculate why both teams played poorly last week, but I would guess both teams are going into this game with the same kind of not sure what's going to happen.
Rocky, what about just end-of-the-season fatigue? Anything to do with it?
Well, I think, but for both teams it is,
yeah.
and I don't think it's physical because everybody's about equal physically because we've all played the same number of games and that sort of thing.
Right.
I think that the game at Wyoming was so emotional on both teams, and then they found out that they didn't have to win on Friday night because Boise State lost. Our guys already knew they didn't have to win, and they were emotionally drained, so we played slow, sluggish, and not very aggressive.
Wow.
Now, that's interesting. Here you have this Wyoming-San Diego State game that goes to overtime. And San Diego State, we for those of you that may have missed this game 2 weeks ago, the Aztecs get the ball on the 1-yard line with 1:07 to go. They've got to go 99 yards. And they do. And by the way, they get a Hail Mary pass that's caught even though it's called incomplete. And then there's like 10 minutes of real time between the catch and the time the referees confirm that it's a catch, and then Rocky chooses to go for 2. Let's get the win and get out of here, and they fail, and Wyoming wins. But both teams coming off that emotional game both teams the following week, San Diego State getting beaten up here by Colorado State, and as Coach is pointing out, New Mexico beats up on Wyoming. So both of these teams coming in off of a loss, off of giving up a ton of points. Who knows what's going to happen this week, Coach?
That's the problem. Nobody knows. Now you know why guys my age that coach football have such gray hair. I think our players will be ready. I think they want to win. I think the excitement of playing for the championship is there. I'm a little worried not about last week's game because young people get over that pretty easy. I'm worried about maybe they're going into the game without the confidence they deserve, and we want them to have. But I think that we're all a little bit disappointed in our performance, not just last week, that we're not better than, we thought we were going to be in a better position than we are. And I say that, and we've already won 9 games. We're already guaranteed a bowl game. If you would have said that 8 years ago, everybody said you're crazy. But we have those expectations. Our players have those expectations. But the number one goal in our program is to win the conference championship. They know that, I know that, and I think they're going to play as hard as they can play.
And Rock, as far as just confidence goes, I mean, if they make a big play early in the game, I mean that'll get them right back in step,
That's exactly right. If we make a big play on offense or make a big stop on defense,
right,
we're right back in the right frame of mind. Yep.
And in that game against Wyoming a couple weeks ago, there were some big plays in the kicking game as well. So I don't know if you watch it on film, you know that they're going to try and make adjustments to stop your return game. On the other hand, you guys have to see if maybe there are some big scoring opportunities in the return game.
Of course. That's the weirdest deal about this. Now, their coaching staff was at North Dakota State and won 3 national championships, and they've played teams before. They played teams during the year and played them in the playoffs. And I have a couple coaches on our staff that have done that. I've never done this before. I mean, it was only 2 weeks ago we're playing the same team.
Yeah.
And so you watch the film, and obviously we're going to make some adjustments to try to improve on what we didn't do very well, and we're going to make some adjustments of the things we did well so they can't lock into us, but they're doing the same thing, so there's really no advantage either way there either.
And the worst thing about it is you have to watch the film again.
Well, that's
I mean, you got to sit down and watch that damn thing.
Well, that's bad, but I think going up there when it's only 18 degrees might be the worst thing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you got to sit there and watch that 2-point conversion, which now is a big mistake. Come on. I mean, let's.
Oh no, I don't see it that way. and if it happens again, it'll depend on how the game's going. If the game's going in our favor, we're going to overtime.
Yeah.
If it's going to their favor, we're probably going for 2.
Well, but again, if there's a 10-minute real-time delay between the time the catch is made and the time the referees confirm that they had made a mistake, can we? I mean, you want to text me at that point, or what do you want?
You know what? Now that you brought that up, if there's that kind of delay again, I think we're going to overtime. But I'll check with you first before I decide.
That's a smart move, really. And quite honestly, I mean, when do you guys leave? Tomorrow night? You leave tomorrow night?
Yeah, we're leaving late tomorrow night.
Okay,
yeah.
So there's time tomorrow during the day if you want Scott to visit with the guys, gather them around, take a knee, and then he can dole out some significant pointers if you'd like.
Well, I'd like Scott to come in and meet me in the morning and watch the practice tape at 5, and then we can watch all the Wyoming film together, and then he can come up with a lot better game plan than I can.
Now that's a partnership, Scott, right there.
Yeah, just too early.
5 in the morning.
Just too early.
No, you're not a good partner.
Never too early.
Just too early. But let's work on my schedule, not yours, man. Rocky Long, the head football coach at San Diego State, on Scott and BR on the Mighty 1090. Let me ask you this. We talk about making adjustments, about finding ways to win in a game that, like you said, you only played 2 weeks ago and you lost. I've heard you say it over and over again. In the last 2 games, the team offensive line and defensive line have gotten pushed around. Okay, so for you, at least the way I hear it, it was a physical issue. What do you do to change that so that your O-line and D-line dominate the way they did earlier in the season?
I think it's totally emotional. I mean, I think that our guys got to realize up front that the 2 teams that they just played were very physical up front and controlled the line of scrimmage, and we have to do better with our techniques as well as have a different frame of mind. I mean, we've gone into games where I'm going to try to use the right adjectives here, where we mauled them. And well, we got mauled last week. I mean, they rolled us up and put us on our back and all those kind of things. And it's not I don't think it's a physical issue, because I don't think they're not bigger, and I don't think they're much stronger. But as players, you guys know that you go into a game and there's sometimes you're the toughest guy on the field, and there's other times you are not. Well, we got to be the toughest guys on the field.
Coach, you talk about coaches getting gray hair and getting old. I'm just curious, how much you got left in the tank? We ask Coach Fisher this kind of stuff all the time. No, seriously, like
he's fine.
Believe me, look, between the emails I've received this week of Rocky has taken the program as far as it can go, I've also gotten the Rocky's going to retire soon.
But Rocky's not that old. How old are you, Coach?
I'm 66.
Yeah, he's fine.
It's a stressful job, Linda. I'm just asking, Coach, how long you plan on doing it?
I'm going to do it as long as we continue to win games, and I have great young people to work with. And the best part of my job around here is I have very few malcontents. And a lot of football teams mess with a lot more guys than I have to mess with, and probably 95% of my team are good guys that want to do right, want to play football, work really hard, come on time, all those kind of things. As soon as they get to be too big a problem, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Or if we don't win enough games, they'll kick me out of here. I mean, that's the way it works. So it'll work itself out.
Mm-hmm. By the way, you mentioned 95% of your guys are good guys. I mean, there is that 5%. There are guys this year that let this team down by doing things that violated team rules, whatever those things were, that got suspended. And, people who know the team well say between some injuries and between some suspensions, specifically on defense, that will give you the answers as to what's happened the last couple of weeks. Do you buy that?
I think there's some truth to that, but I never buy into that, because the ones that made the mistakes are selfish people that didn't worry about the team. But we have 5 guys that were backups at the beginning of the season. They were backups, and they've been starting for us for the last 4 weeks or so.
All right, so these guys are ready to play. These guys know what they're doing.
They do. Yep.
Well, Coach, this is an exciting week because, again, for everybody that said he's taken him as far or Kevin Acee was right or any of this stuff, Coach, this is the week to shut up all the critics. And I love that opportunity.
I agree with you. And, all those people can talk about all that kind of stuff all they want. That's part of – and I'm glad, to be honest with you, I'm glad they care. It'd be worse if they didn't care. But guess what? There's great coaches all over the country that are being talked about that every single time they lose a game.
That's right. Hey, last thing, you mentioned that this staff from Wyoming was at North Dakota State. Isn't it interesting that now USD will play at North Dakota State in the FCS playoffs against the coaching staff that took over for the guys that you're going to go play against at Wyoming? I mean, a lot of weird San Diego connections to those 2 football games.
That is weird. I didn't know that, but that is weird. Yeah.
Well, right. The guys at Wyoming were the guys that came from North Dakota State that started that 5 straight national championship run that they're on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So we'll see what happens. Coach, we wish you the best of luck on Saturday. Bring home the Mountain West Conference Championship for us.
We're going to do our best, and I appreciate you guys always being on or having me on with you guys because I enjoy it. Thanks.
Well, we do too.
Excellent.
Thank you, Coach.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you. Bye.